minutes.
Someone I did martial arts. Yeah. Yeah, you said we were all. Where's on that?
How many candidates? Yeah.
All right, everyone, we're getting started. I've seen him 4 times. And calling the meeting to order. Thanks everyone for coming here today. Thanks for being thank you for coming in person. Thank you for being here as well. We're going to get started immediately with our guests. And then we'll go into other business matters from there. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Tim, please, right now.
You already all know us. I am the B2 presentation coordinator, and my partner is Dr. Carl. But you know, like all the features, B1, we have a follow with it as well. And you're not good as always. So I really think it's really important to make sure that you have kind of full perspective, the team's very aware of what's going on in the area. So any questions are coming up that may not be answered, we have to answer. So as you know, we've had a little busy couple of weeks, so I'm going to get to those things. And before I get into that, I want to talk about one particular area that I have noticed. There are a lot of these instances that are press releases, so you may already have read up on them. There was one that was a burglary that I want to discuss, and I had actually seen it prior. This was stood out to me because it encompasses a lot of things that we kind of discussed and things I even talked about in my security assessment. So this was on the 2500 block of 5th Street. There was a neighbor, the neighbor was out and their younger neighbor next door was house sitting for them. She walked into the house and noticed that there was somebody in there. So she, runs out of the house, calls police arrives. They're able to contact the homeowner and look at the cameras. And upon looking at the cameras, the officers that were there recognized them from an earlier incident that day. And so because of that call that happened, they knew where that guy hung out and they were able to look at that perimeter and made an arrest. So the reason I thought that was important to bring up was for 2 things. One, cameras. So when I do my security assessments, I always talk about how cameras are not stopping crime. They're not stopping anybody from doing anything nefarious. But what they will do is they're going to help us with evidence. If there is an arrest, we can use that in court. They're going to help you know where things are happening from. So if you notice strange, oh, this is how they got in. This is what I need to change. And in this instance, it helps us identify the suspect. The other part is what we talk about quite often is that you need to be calling incidents first. So if you notice some suspicious behavior, something that seems minor, and often people are thinking, we don't want to bother the police, we don't want to waste your time, this is minor, and they don't call. And so that incident
It was minor enough that he wasn't arrested in that situation, but it allowed the person who had contacted him earlier to already have contact with him, know where he hangs out, and they were able to remember him. So it's always important that we're getting these calls, that we know what's happening in the city that you're reporting. So if it doesn't end up in an arrest or immediate obvious action in that moment, it does have long-term consequences that could be really helpful. So please call. You all have that non-emergency number, the dispatch number. We've talked about that in the past, putting that in contact list. It's really important that you're making those calls. If you're unsure if something's an emergency, you can call that number. That's still gonna go to the same place, to our dispatch. So just something to think about. Now to the others. So we had a couple aggravated assaults. We're gonna start with one that was August 28th. There was a press release on this one. And the one on August 28th was it's happened around 10 p.m. And the victim had been hanging out near the beach. She went to hang out with the suspect and had drinks, and then he ends up assaulting her. The suspect, she was able to run off and find help. They call police, suspects in the area. She's able to describe it pretty well, and they were able to find him.
On September 3rd, the DA filed 3 felony charges on that suspect. So that press release went out with that information. The other one is something that happened. This is a sexual battery, August 27th, 1300 block of the beach. It was around 1:30 p.m. That suspect was also arrested. He was still in the area after police arrived, and the victim was able to identify him as well. And then we have an incident that happened over the weekend. So this one was actually, what's this one?
Which one?
It's in the 2:45,
It was
Saturday going to Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. That was around 1:37 in the morning. So Saturday going to Sunday morning on the 000 block of Bay. So two males were, or a group of males were approached by another group. The other group does not appear to live or hang out in Santa Monica. They were from outside the city, and then an altercation ensued. The males who had already been hanging out there were trying to defend each other, and they started fighting. The individuals that approached them pulled out a gun and shot one of them. That individual was taken to the hospital with multiple gunshot wounds, and he is still in the hospital now. The person who shot him was arrested. There were a couple witnesses that were able to give some information on that, so that's still open, but there was an arrest. And then the last one I have, this was the only one there wasn't an arrest on, but it was also an aggravated assault or assault with a deadly weapon. So there was a fight over a parking spot, and the individual so there was a fight over a parking spot, and the individual brandished the weapon. The vehicle called police, and the person who had brandished the weapon drove off immediately, and so there's still another investigation on that. That one was on the 7th, so over the weekend. So, as I mentioned, with all of these cases, we luckily did have arrests, and most of these are still open, except for the one that the DA already filed charges on. So if there's any additional information, I know, like I mentioned, there's press releases, so you may have already seen these, and there's detective information on there. But if you're unsure, you can always reach out to us with any additional information that could be helpful for the investigations in general. So, I missed anything? Okay. All right. All that fun stuff. I'm going to open it up for questions. And then I'll go to you, sorry.
Well, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the good work you're doing. I know you mentioned earlier there's going to be another police academy coming up in October. And I was fortunate, and I'm so glad that I attended. It was either a year or maybe 2 years ago. Time flies. But it was a 10-week thing at the police station, and guys, it was just the most fantastic thing. And I know, I'm pretty sure Sean would publicize it. That's how I got the link to Chief Batista's letter through the OPA newsletter here, and the tips on safety. And I just hope that the word can get out from all the groups about this upcoming police academy, and it'd be such a worthwhile thing to do because everybody's talking about public safety. This is a time to really come and see what's really going on here.
I agree, and then thank you, Jerry, for bringing that up as well. I will say, we do have a community academy starting October 9th. We meet every Wednesday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. at the police station. It's a 10-week program. You meet our command staff, you meet different units of the department. You get a ride along, you also go on a harbor boat. So it's a really great experience. At the end, you have a graduation, you get a certificate from the chief. And you learn a lot and get to kind of know the inner workings of the department and meet people. So everybody tends to meet us, right? We're community affairs, so that's our job. We're out in the community, but you don't always get to see everybody else who's making the department run, who's making it what it is. So it's a really great opportunity for anybody who lives, works in the city or goes to school in the city. So if you do know anybody, or if you yourself want to join, please contact me. I'm still taking applications for this upcoming session. We have them in the spring as well. So we have a spring and a fall session, but we still have openings for the following session. And the gentleman behind Jerry, you raise your hand.
There's just so much more violent crime going on in the city, and the police really do, on top of it, pretty good, excellent job. But there was I was reading the paper. I think you may have mentioned that there was a woman who tried to abduct an 8-year-old girl about a month ago. Did you mention that?
No, I did not mention that one. So there was a kidnapping that, the attempted kidnapping,
Yeah.
that was.
What happened?
The one on the beach or the one on Lincoln?
Yeah.
There was one.
I think he's saying something.
I think one of them happened 2200 block of the beach. That would happen on the beach, and there was no one that happened on Lincoln. Unfortunately, and I can tell you, this is one of the odd things. I've been a police officer for close to 25 years. I was talking to a newer officer, one of the officers that was a handle on that. And I went up to her and I said, hey, I need to know more about this because we have to study this because this rarely ever happens. And she was talking to one of my sergeants. He's been a police officer for 40 years in Santa Monica, and he's never heard of an incident similar to that. So it's definitely it's typically for Santa Monica, it's something that just never happens. And just if I can mention something about, when I talked to that officer who was the handle of the lead officer on that, we were trying to figure out, hey, how does something like this happen? How do we avoid? Because later on, I'm gonna be talking to parents. Parents are always wondering, hey, how do I make it safer for my kid? What type of things do I avoid? So we were doing like a kind of a deep dive on what can be done better. And one of the things that we discovered, and it's a good thing for us to pass on, is we're always saying report suspicious activity. But for most people, it's what's applicable to them. Like, oh, it's suspicious because it's my house. It's suspicious because maybe it's my front neighbor's house. But maybe you're at a restaurant and you see something that doesn't look right to you. And people are so hesitant to say, I feel like I'm a nosy Nelly. Or what's the popular word now? Karen. We need Karens out there because honestly, they're the ones that see things and they're willing to report it. And when you see things that don't look right, I've got many calls, and my partners have gotten similar calls, where it's somebody who's not connected to maybe there's a child, some type of child incident. And maybe it's something that looks peculiar to them. Hey, the way that kid is acting, that maybe that connection with an adult or a child, or maybe the behavior, something looks off, but they can't really put their finger on it. So they're like, I'm not gonna tell this kid. All right, they're gonna think that there's something like I'm that Karen. No, please do us a favor. Because I think in critical situations where we want to avoid bigger crime, it's okay to make that call and to say, hey, this doesn't involve me, but I'm seeing something that looks irregular. Something that me as a parent, me as a community member, me as somebody who I can see what looks right and what looks wrong, this doesn't look right to me. this is what I'm seeing, this is my gut instinct, and I just want to report it. We'll go out there and we'll investigate, and it may be just perfectly fine. But today and how activity happens so fast, it's so helpful to us to get that information. Let's run it through, let's get officers on it, let's investigate, make sure it's nothing, and then move on. So, I mean, talking about that kidnapping, that's one of the things that we learned, that other people were aware of some things that looked off, but they didn't want to go and get involved. So yeah, definitely call dispatch. And like I always say, doesn't matter. If you think it's urgent, call 911. If you don't think it's urgent, then call the non-emergency number or call us.
No, what I want to, when he's saying call us, meaning police, not us. Exactly. I want to clarify that because there, he had a voicemail from somebody reporting it to him, a voicemail, and then somebody called me and I had answered the phone, but I was able to transfer them to dispatch. But that's very concerning for somebody to think that we are not dispatch, we're not at our desk 24/7. Nobody's going to answer that 24/7. So it's really scary for someone to confuse that. And if they happen to be the only witness in that situation and they're calling the wrong number, that can be very dangerous. So we just want to make sure that you understand that. You can absolutely call us after and say, hey, I just called police. This is what happened, just so you guys are in the loop. But please know the difference. You're calling dispatch or 911. We are not dispatch. And then she had a question.
Well, I just want to respond to this portion. Communication for the police department, we have extra things, but nothing has changed since the inception of phones and numbers. Nothing for us. We have a fully staffed Office of Emergency Management. So when I see people sharing stuff in Nextdoor that should be shared with the police immediately, it upsets me. Please do not not you guys, because you guys are good community members. You're here at this meeting. What I have learned through my career is that people say, I need to get it off my chest. I need to tell somebody. They tell Nextdoor, and then you go through like the Nextdoor app, especially where I live in the Valley. And like, that's really dangerous. Someone should have called the police. It's not a time for everybody to start talking and commenting and just stir it up. And what about this? What is that? Something really bad in my neighborhood happened and resulted in death, and a shot was fired. But they didn't say anything to the police. They said it on Nextdoor. So Nextdoor is good for like a bicycle, something very simple. Don't park your car. Very simple stuff. But don't absolve yourself or tell your friends of feeling like guilt or anything like that. Use the system, go through the steps, speak to the trained professional, and they can dispatch police out there. Use that every time it should work. That includes 311 and getting 311 requests. Scooter driving the wrong way in traffic. Here's a picture. What am I going to do with that? Can't do anything with that. When that time comes and goes, it's Monday, that happened on Friday. That 311 notification does nothing for the police department after a period of time. It goes into a mailbox and email. We need that for graffiti, things that have already occurred. We need to paint it, do something to cover it up. Very reactive. Proactive stuff needs to go to management.
Okay, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I had a question. I read Chief Batista's public letter in the Daily Press about like sexual assaults increasing with unhoused populations here. And I know with like DOJ victim services, 70 to 90% of sexual assaults actually happen with people that know the other person. So I was wondering if you have any data on that or anything rather than just focusing on the unhoused populations.
That happen in the city, know each other.
Yeah, not including the
I could
unhoused.
just talk to the space of.
I don't know, like overall, I could probably get some stats on that. I can tell
Yeah.
you from even reviewing data, when it's known to each other, it's not something I would necessarily report because it's not a danger to the community necessarily. Like it's like almost like domestic violence.
Yeah,
Domestic violence, I'm not giving details on that. We know about it, but we're not, it's not something that's put out as a danger.
just.
But I
like
know from
police-
the last month, I'm just looking at it, there were 2 incidents that were people known to each other and
Mhm.
open investigation on.
Okay,
It's not something I see as often, but you're absolutely right. I mean, statistically, overall,
yeah,
that is somebody that you usually are connected with. And even in one of these incidents, you didn't know the person, but
hung out with him at the beach. I kind of trusted him, like it wasn't like a random person attacking her out of nowhere. Doesn't make it better, or worse, it's just. Yeah. It's gonna be-
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
These are the sexual assaults that we've been seeing are the ones that have occurred in the city are not like I'm walking down the street like the canal rapes and someone just snatches you. People have periods of interaction that are like 1 to 2 hours, drinking occurs, the relationship gets skewed and then they're assaulted. That's how they go. So those are very difficult to provide even a presence for because when we pass the person there to be getting along and in a split second, maybe after an hour or so, or 2 hours or 4 hours, the sexual assault person will not so present for them because they've been lured into a location where they can't be seen by even the public. So, and then people hanging out at the water line at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, which I wouldn't recommend. Nothing good happens at that time at the water line. So it's just difficult to observe and see.
And I think you and.
What do you have, Dallas, for the non-emergency call?
24 hours. 24 hours, 7 days a week. The same people, if you call 458-8491, you might get a phone tree or you'll get they'll say Santa Monica Police, how can I help you? You call 911, the same person will answer. They'll say, Santa Monica Police, what's your emergency?
It goes to the same.
It goes to the same person. It's just 911, it rings different on the dispatch pin and they have to get the 911 call first.
I believe the North of the Pier precinct is the most recent precinct to be added, and was just wondering how that has impacted your lives and our lives.
So the fire department,
Is that what's on the beach now?
Yeah.
It's the fire department?
it's fire, man.
It's
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's helped working the pier because when there's somebody falls and, the fire department. Instead of having the fire truck rumbling down Pico or Ocean Avenue, coming down the pier to deal with they get on their little, what are they called? MUV that goes on the sand.
ATVs, and then they have a 4-wheel
Yeah.
pickup truck there, so it goes out.
Oh, no, it's,
And engine set, there isn't actually an engine, there. 7 comes, but it has to come all the way. So that's the old McDonald's, that's what.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. Station 7.
I think you say
Because to Palo Alto High School, I don't remember. And I graduated in 99, and I don't remember that McDonald's.
it was Harry's.
Yeah, what year did it close?
Yeah, it's in my head already.
What year? Yeah, so I graduated in 99, it wasn't there then, so I've been out of high school for almost 30 years. It's been gone for a while.
Thank you for coming here tonight. So just, was there another
One more
question?
comment, just, follow what, Jerry Ruby was saying about the academy. I took the academy in university. Not 19.
Around 58.
It was one of the best experience. I resisted it so much that awkward to it, and it was a great experience. And the first time in my life, I had a chance to trust the cops. It was great. We went through every phase of what you guys do on a regular basis there. Stuff you never see, stuff behind the scenes. It's really impressive. It's worth it. If you have time and you can do that 1 night a week.
Yeah.
Don't shortchange, congratulations.
And if you want more information, in addition to.
I did the same thing you Thank you.
Next month, Chief Batista is gonna be here, addressing the audience as well, so we'll have more in-depth discussion on all things Santa Monica Police. So, be ready for that next month. Want to hand over the floor now to City Manager David White. Thank you for making time to join us tonight and the rest of us.
Evening, happy to be here.
I'm gonna guess it's going to be 7 And we should be the elevator. Yes. That's not exciting.
So it's okay. Important conversation. So I had a few prepared remarks. I'll just speak a little bit and then certainly, why I love being here is opportunity, obviously, to answer any questions that you have about what's going on in the city. And if I can't answer, I'll definitely look to Sean to get answers for you. So I'll be a little boring and then talk about some exciting stuff. I'll try to balance both my minds and all the things that I manage. So, council recently adopted our budget back in June. It was a very difficult budget for them to adopt because fundamentally, as an organization, we're in a difficult situation financially with a number of very significant liabilities that we're facing. So as a result, they had to hold back on a number of capital improvement projects. They had to defer transferring money to the Housing Trust Fund, which is a very important source of resources for us to bring forward affordable housing and permanent supportive housing into the community. And what I'm talking about in particular is, to date, the city has settled over 200 claims against a former employee that is accused of sexual assault with program participants in PAL. We currently have another 100, more than 100 claims that we're currently evaluating at this point in time. In addition to that, as you know, the city's been engaged in a long-standing fight against the request to go to district election. And that has significant liability associated with it if we lose that fight. And then also a number of different areas in our organization that are the types of basic services, for example, lifeguard services. We're seeing increased cost pressure in those programs as well. So as a result of that, we had to come to the council and ask them to be fiscally conservative and prudent in this environment because we have paid out so much in our liabilities over the past 3 years that we have to be in a position where we have to start generating more cash and building up our reserves. And so that's why you saw us, like I said before, having to hold back on certain capital improvement programs, having to hold back providing resources to our Housing Trust Fund. So it was a very difficult budget for our city council, but they ultimately did adopt it. The one area where they did provide more resources was in the police department. They did make some trade-offs in the budget to reallocate resources away from our capital improvement program and resources that we had set aside for our liabilities to hire 4 additional police officers. So that's now increasing our police department by 11 police officers over the past 2 years. So that was a positive moment.
That's sort of the budget, and that's sort of the world that I'm living in. It's a very fiscally constrained environment. I know that's really hard for community members, and I know it's really hard for our organization because, and I think a lot of people remember times when the city was doing very well financially. We're still doing very good, but we just don't have the available resources like we used to have. So let me talk about some of the good stuff that's happening. So I'll talk a little about what's happening in Ocean Park, but I'll talk a little broader about what's happening in the city. So for those of you that were paying attention, the Promenade a week or so ago had a very great week. We had 3 wonderful businesses open up on the Promenade, a store called Miniso, a kiosk called Odd One Out, which is a very popular tea company that got their sort of foot in the ground in LA through Smorgasburg and now have a very popular store on Sawtelle. So we're really excited that they opened up here in Santa Monica. And then I saved the best for last, which is Barnes & Noble. After many years of not being in Santa Monica, is back. And if you haven't been to the store, it's a really, really beautiful store. They did a great job with it, and it's already proven to be a wonderful attraction. And that's really just sort of the beginning of what we're seeing to start happen on the Promenade in downtown. So I really think I know over the course of the next 12 months, you're going to see some really positive things happen. Google's opening up a retail store very similar to the Apple store on the Promenade. JD Sports, as you see, has their construction up. We have Uniqlo will be moving from Santa Monica Place down onto the Promenade. We have 2 new wonderful property owners, Daniel Nagari and Jeff Appel, and I've met with Daniel, and I can tell you that they are bringing a tremendous amount of positive enthusiasm for the Promenade, working very hard to attract new tenants to the Promenade. They're very excited with their acquisitions and are really looking forward to
bringing some really new development into the area. Also, you probably saw HQ Gastropub at Santa Monica on the Promenade. After many years of not doing anything, and I can say many because I think since I got here, they've had a lease on that building. You see them actively moving forward with construction on that building. It's been very disruptive to folks in downtown because they've had portions of Santa Monica closed. But I'm really excited to see them kicking that up. And then very close, this will be OPA adjacent. Certainly, we're really excited that the Lowe's transition to the region is actually coming to life this month. They've started taking reservations. And it's just part and parcel of what has been just a tremendous investment in our travel and leisure industry over the past few years. Next door to them at the Sanborn, they rebranded themselves, brought in a new restaurant, run by a local restaurateur. There's a new restaurant opening up across the street from them. So that little portion of Ocean Avenue is going to just be absolutely wonderful and enlivened as the region takes hold. And I've had some conversations with their general manager. They're already getting very positive reception in the, throughout the world. A lot of folks are looking to reserve that hotel. So really excited to see that come to life for sure. Down over here, so obviously you've seen the wonderful restaurants that have been opening up on Main Street. It continues to be a very positive part of the city for us. Just met with a local business owner who is looking to invest in a new restaurant on Main Street, and David Barron's concept is coming forward. So we're really excited about the energy and momentum down on Main Street. It's been just really exciting and just sort of an example of really what we want to see certainly occur throughout the city as well. From a residential perspective, we're seeing wonderful momentum in residential development in downtown Santa Monica. We have more than 800 units under construction, which is absolutely fabulous and is really important for the city because, as the office market continues to transition and people adjust to this sort of new normal of hybrid work, it's really important that we have the housing stock come into the community because that's going to bring people into the streets and into our shopping districts to spend money. So we really have to understand and think about housing as an important part of our economic development strategy as we move forward as a community. One project that I know has been on the minds of Ocean Park Association and the community is over at Pico and Main, the old bowling alley site. So that I've been told many times by the developer that they're going to start construction this year. The current timeline is to start in November. So we're eager to see that project get off the ground and launch. Definitely in the near term. And you've already seen a number of projects up on Lincoln. You've got the project over at Lincoln and Ocean Park that has received their administrative approvals. We have another project at Pearl and Lincoln that is going through the approval process. So we're continuing to see Lincoln turn over. And with that, I know one of the questions that is the understanding where we're at with that Link project, which is really designed to be a pedestrian-oriented capital improvement project to really help and support Lincoln Avenue as it goes through this transformation. So we were able to secure some federal resources. We are going to start the first phase of that project this September, and it will take about a year-long project, and it's mainly a lighting project to convert the inefficient lighting to more of an LED lighting. And we did apply earlier this year in May for a $17 million grant to the federal government to finish out the conversion of that project. Well, I don't know if we're going to get the grant, but that really, highlights sort of the fiscal situation that we're in, that we have become much more dependent upon state and federal resources to bring forward the vision of the organization as well. The other thing that I want to comment on, where I think we've seen a tremendous amount of work in, we talk a lot about the homelessness that we experience in the city. And if you where we released the results, we saw for the first time in a couple of years a reduction in the number of people experiencing homelessness on our streets. And obviously I can't tell you what is the exact reason for that, but what I can tell you is that over the past year and a half, we really have had the most significant expansion in our work to address homelessness than we've had in many years. And so let me give you some examples. We put two new outreach teams onto our street. One outreach team is a partnership with the county, and that is really focused on portions of the city going east of Lincoln. Another outreach team actually works with our police department, and we actually work with the Salvation Army, and they're working hand in glove with our police department homeless liaison team to really respond to 311 calls for service that we get for areas where people see encampments and people experiencing homelessness. And they're also working with them in our public spaces, for example, like our parks, to help connect folks to services and housing. So really happy to see that expansion. We've partnered with the county on 2 initiatives in the past year, which have been really meaningful to us as a city. The first one is called the Therapeutic Transport Team, which is administered by the county. They're housed in a city facility, and they're actually co-dispatched with police and fire for certain types of calls, but respond to calls from the police department and the fire department. And they're designed to work with people who are having behavioral health and mental health issues, provide an alternate response, and free up our police and fire resources so they can work with those individuals, and if necessary, transfer them to appropriate facilities or provide them with the resources that they need when they're working with them on the streets. The second program is the Pathway Home Initiative. So this has been a really exciting initiative where the county has paid for literally everything. They pay for taking site control of a facility in Santa Monica. They're paying for all of the security services, all the case management services. And that's an interim housing program where we're working with people, connecting them, taking them off the streets, putting them in this program. They can be there for anywhere from 90 days to 180 days. They receive deep behavioral health and mental health services. And the goal is to connect them to permanent supportive housing. And there's great resources that the county has helped to transition them with rental subsidies and other one-time money. That's been a great program for us, particularly because in the past couple of months, we just opened up a project called Laurel at Michigan and 14th. It's a permanent supportive housing project. And because of that project, we've been able to house over 50 people who were experiencing homelessness on our streets. So just another example of the great work that we're doing. The next thing that we've done over the past year is we've expanded San Moschel. So now it's open 24/7 for first responders to connect people experiencing homelessness off the streets into that emergency shelter facility. So really excited about having that amenity because in a world where there aren't a lot of resources available overnight, it's really exciting now that we have an outlet for our first responders to take people to if they're looking for that resource. So those are just some of the examples of some of the things that we've been able to accomplish in a very fiscally constrained environment. We've been very strategic, but those are some of the initiatives that we've been able to bring forward to really broaden the work that we do. What we're doing right now is there's two very important strategic initiatives that we're working on. One is our homelessness strategic plan. So we had an audit of all of our work to address homelessness, and it became very clear that we need an updated strategic plan. We've been working on that for almost a year now, and we plan on bringing something forward to our council in the first quarter of next year. It's really going to help to guide and shape our work over the next 3 to 5 years. For myself, having observed the work, it's a very impressive array of services that we have. And it's really exciting to see it come together in this document and really help push us forward as we really try to lean in. The next initiative that we're working on, which I'm really excited about, and I think is really going to excite a lot of folks when it comes out into the community more obviously, is we're doing work and developing a behavioral health strategic plan. So one of the things that we know is that what's really hurting our community, hurting many cities on the west side, is the lack of behavioral health resources for people who need them most. And so our hope is that we are going to leverage this resource and advocate very strongly for an expansion of behavioral health resources in the west side. It doesn't have to be in Santa Monica. We're not looking necessarily for that to happen, but we are looking to see an expansion of resources in the side of the city. And we're working with Culver City, we're working with Beverly Hills, we're working with West Hollywood. We're all aligned in this work. And so we're really looking forward to continue that push and working with our supervisor's office as we move ahead. One of the things that we've heard a lot about, and it's an interrelated issue, is this issue of what is called the underlying policy for Metro. So at the end of the night, right, every evening, Metro has to ask folks to leave their train because they have to clean and service those trains. It makes all the sense in the world. So the question is, what happens? So Metro for the North Hollywood line introduced a while ago, maybe 6 months ago. I don't quote me on that. I don't remember. But they instituted what's called the tap to exit program. So you actually have to use your Metro card to get off of the train. And so you may say, what does that have to do with the end of the line issue? Well, you could argue maybe nothing, but what they found in the North Hollywood situation was throughout the totality of the line, it greatly improved the customer experience, reductions of criminality went down, and revenues went up. So we're absolutely looking forward to that and being something that we experienced with our end of line situation in Santa Monica. The second thing that we partnered with Metro on, and Metro's leading this effort, is 2 nights a week, 1 week, 3 nights a week, a second week, they contract with a third-party service provider and are being available at the end of the evening to work with people and connect them to services as best as they can at those early morning hours. So we really hope between that program as well as the tap to exit program that we're going to continue to see improvements our station because it's so important for us, right? So many folks use the train to get here, to spend the day here, to enjoy our beautiful city. And frankly, a lot of people use the train to work here. So it's really important we continue to be partners with both our county supervisor, Lindsay Horvath, as well as Metro, to see these improvements where best we can. And both have been really tremendous resources for us. So that's a lot of our work around homelessness. The other thing that we're working, which I'm sure many of you are paying attention to, is looking forward to the future of Santa Monica Airport. So council's given direction, right, to close that airport and when we can at the end of 2028. I've been working on a public engagement process for that project. We're looking forward to phase 2 that really excited about that. And I see Caitlin in the back. Been a wonderful partner. I do want to mention and make sure you're aware of our work to hopefully revitalize sort of the Civic Auditorium. I'll stop there then again. Council gave us direction. They're really looking forward to begin their due diligence process to see what they can do with that building to revitalize it and become, a cultural arts and entertainment venue that I think we're all really looking forward to. It would certainly add a tremendous amenity to the city without a doubt, and would certainly complement so much of what we have to offer. It's going to be a tall order for them, so you're going to have to be patient as they really look at that building and understand it. And they've been wonderful community partners. They're working with the Conservancy and many community groups to really come forward in a way that respects what the building was, and also thinking about what the building can be. And I really appreciate, their can-do attitude in that regard. So with that, I think I can stop there and answer any questions that you have. I already see some fingers.
So, please go for it.
Get a few out of the way, looking update about how it's going to go with Circuit du Soleil, which seems like a great thing coming. Also, if you could give a brief update about how things are moving along with the Miramar revitalization. They go to a Landmarks Commission meeting in October, but this seems to take so long, and I think it would be a good project. So what's that? Is the Geary Hotel still happening for Santa Monica? I hope so. And finally, David, I think Melissa Spagnola is a great choice to work on the Olympics because she's a wonderful staff person. I hope, and I know it's challenging, probably for every city that ever was part of the Olympics with all their strict stuff, but I just think it would be such an honor, and I hope we can do it because volleyball started here, and we should have that volleyball at our great pier. So I'm hoping that can happen.
I'll start with Cirque du Soleil. So really excited Cirque du Soleil is coming back, and that's really been part of, the council has been very oriented on economic development and really challenging us to be very thoughtful about, bringing back activations to the city and not constraining ourselves. And so when the opportunity came back for Cirque du Soleil to come back down to Santa Monica, it was a win-win partnership. They knew how special it was and meaningful it was for them to be down here, and we knew how great it was for us to have that kind of attraction here. So they're going to be starting in October, and they're hard at work. They're advertising like crazy, so wonderful. Talking about the two hotels, yeah. So in the next 10 years, we got this side of Ocean Park, sort of thinking south of Pico, that's got some wonderful investments. But when you go north of Colorado, those two hotels between the Fairmont Miramar and the Geary, they're both moving ahead. They're both very serious about moving their projects forward. They're doing all the behind the scenes work that no one gets to see, right? Doing their design plans, doing their construction drawings, which just takes a lot of time. We've been very supportive to the both of them. They've been very supportive to us. We have a position in the community development department that is geared specifically to help facilitate those projects move through the system as quickly as possible. So we will continue to remain very, very committed.
The Olympics.
The Olympics, we're working on the Olympics. We continue to negotiate them. We'll be with council in closed session tomorrow night, giving them an update. You know, we're going to be an amazing spot for the Olympics, no matter what. People are going to come here, enjoy here, but we know for sure that having the Olympics on the beach would be a pretty special thing. We don't think any other place offers what we offer in that regard, so we'll see how it goes.
And this last but not least, I know it's on the agenda. And I'm not a fan of council districts. I want people on the council that care about the whole city. So, but what's the update on that? How's that going?
We plan on going to court in November. You know, we're going to go back to the trial court.
Okay.
John?
So speaking of the Olympics, we're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be walking south of the pier to Ocean Park.
Yes.
What about capital improvements for things like Crescent View Park and that sort of stuff? Or is there anything on the agenda for that yet, or we need to get busy with you?
So you do need to get busy. You know, right now, our park planners doing a park condition assessment report, and that's going to be a guiding light for us to figure out where we need to invest our resources. The challenge we had, and that's why I sort of opened up with our budget conversation, is that we wanted to bring forward to the council setting aside $2 million in our capital improvement program to support capital improvements for the Olympics. But because of our resource needs around our liabilities, we had to hold that money back. And that's right now sitting in reserves. Should things go well, we are litigating against insurance companies right now. And should things go well, we would like to free up that money to invest in the community to adjust the Olympics. So we'd be looking at all kinds of things where we could put that resource. We're definitely looking at community beautification projects, but we're just not sure what we can do yet. Yep.
What's with the civic, did you mention the civic auditorium?
Yes.
Status of it? And, the pier has always, mentioned that, the water is polluted. Do you have any idea why it's polluted in that area? Is it perhaps the sewage, is a sewage line running underneath the pier? Maybe it leaks?
So we don't have sewage going into the ocean. So
I can't hear you.
we don't have sewage going into the ocean. So I'm happy you asked that question. So what we believe it's largely attributable to is the grouping of the pigeons. It's all the pigeon poop that we think is causing that particular area of the pier to have issues. To give you a sense, we and Judy knows about this through all her work, but just underneath, if you go just north of here a little bit, right by the courthouse, underneath that parking lot there, actually right next to the Civic, is a very advanced water treatment facility that is actually capturing a lot of runoff in the city today. And so why I bring that up is because that's treating the runoff and circulating it back into our into the groundwater system, so it can be retreated as drinking water or going into non-potable irrigation. And so that kind of work that we do, and that's not the only example we have of that, is what's keeping water from getting into the ocean that would cause any sort of issues like that. So we've been working very hard at installing netting in the pier, but there is no sewage going into the ocean. Much of our beaches are exceptionally clean and safe for swimming in, as made apparent by the Heal the Bay report. It's just that one specific area for that specific reason. And we continue to try to find new techniques to address it. And our public works team is very dedicated. Thank you. And Jody, you had a question?
I actually won this, what do we have to do to get volleyball, to get volleyball here for the Olympics?
We're negotiating hard all the time. I have a wonderful team. Jerry mentioned Melissa Spaniolo, Susan Klein, our assistant city manager, Susan Cole, our assistant city attorney. We have a firm. Hey, what?
Can we run a bond? Can we run on a bond?
You could, but you wouldn't. But the soonest we could put something on the election would be for 2026. And then by the time it takes to go to market with the bond, you would never get the money in time.
You say just something about the 150th birthday of the city and what you're planning.
I don't, our recreation arts director has graciously accepted to take the lead on that for the city, but we don't have concrete plans yet. So I don't want to put her on the spot or me on the spot, but I'll bring that back to her.
But we're gonna do something, right?
I hope to. Us too. It's a big moment. It's a moment worthy of celebration, absolutely.
Chris?
David, you mentioned the $17 million grant application for Link.
Yeah.
Is it possible to, at the same time, look for other grants in case we don't get that one?
Absolutely. Well, we're perpetually looking at different grant opportunities across the board. We're applying again for another significant grant to look at capping portions of the I-10 freeway. It's called Reconnecting Communities Grant. So we applied for it last year. We didn't get it, and we're applying again this year. We got some great feedback, but we're perpetually on the lookout for grant resources. If we can approach legislators for earmark proposals, we do that too. I mean, we're being very aggressive. So absolutely, yes.
And with that $17 million, that would get that project to the finish line?
That's my understanding, is that would take us from the first phase that we're implementing now, would take us to be able to complete the project.
Mentioned that skateboarding was going to be a demonstration Olympics, and skateboarding was invented in Ocean Park.
That's going to the valley. I think it's going to Balboa. I think I saw the press release.
I think people have a lot of Olympics questions. There is some public information you can share about sort of the economics of the negotiation, or is there not?
Not yet. No.
Okay. So I can share unofficially that the LA 28 committee is asking for a lot of financial commitments. And I know David can't speak to this, but from my involvement in the peripherals around this, like, we're going to get a lot of people and a lot of things going on, even if we don't have volleyball. And the city just has to figure out, like, can we afford to also bring volleyball here, given everything else that David talked about that we're trying to accomplish for our city? And what is the return on the investment if we do bring it here? And then the flip side of that, that I know he can't speak to, but like Long Beach is making a big push for it. And the LA committee, I think the city has very deftly pushed the negotiations till after Paris, so that the committee could see how well received volleyball in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower was, and what it would look like in the shadow of the pier versus the shadow of a bunch of shipping containers. So let's just see how this plays out. I know he can't speak to any of that, but just filling in some gaps.
But, Mark's participating. We have Melissa's got this wonderful thing put together called Celebrate 28. We mobilized, working with some community members, working with many different staff. And so the goal is, whether we're hosting an event or not hosting an event, like, we want to make this a special moment for Santa Monica, because without a doubt, right? I mean, let's be honest, we're going to sell out our hotels regardless, right? Like, everyone's going to come to Santa Monica. We're going to be one of the top destinations, and when people choose to come to LA for this event, we're going to be top of the radar screen. So we know that we want to celebrate one way or the other, for sure. It's just a question of how we celebrate. And Sean, talk about just some of the challenges we practically.
I have a question as it relates to yesterday's candidate forum, both directly and indirectly. We're going to get into that as a group in a moment. But one of the many questions I've gotten is around sort of funding of organizations and what's allowed and not allowed, and how that funding is divvied up. The main question is, and I don't know if this is a you question or a city council question, but today every organization gets equal funding. All 7 organizations get the same amount of money, even though Ocean Park has more than 3x the number of residents as Northeast neighbors. If we wanted to try and get that revisited, what's the process for that? To make it per capita instead of per organization?
I think we should start, let me think about that. I think it would be a question of how council would want to allocate the resource, but let me bring that back to my folks and ask some questions about what authorities I would have versus what I should bring to council. So let me just get clarity on that, because I haven't asked that question.
Please.
Oh, I just want to thank you for the coincidence of having the council meeting, so I don't have to hear Donald Trump lying at the debate.
I had nothing to do with that.
Great. Thanks for coming here tonight.
Sure.
Thanks for everything you're doing. Please pass the community's gratitude along to your staff as well. I know it's not always the easiest of jobs. right, with that, we can segue into board business. And since we already brought it up, we'll start with executive and, let's talk a little bit about the council forum. I fielded a lot of questions. There was obviously articles, written about it. Sorry, I'm just gonna make sure my video's on so people can see me as well. I don't have an official statement, beyond what was printed in the article. If you haven't read it, the real sort of nutshell version is at the last board meeting, we voted to participate. We contributed roughly $500 to that. And at some point during the planning process, OPA was excluded from the planning process because Tricia Crane, who's the president of Northeast Neighbors, decided we couldn't be trusted to be part of the process because she thought we were going, at least this is my understanding, is she thought we were going to be sharing questions with candidates potentially, and not sure why else. I haven't gotten much direct feedback from her on the logic on that. I challenged that exclusion. I went to other presidents to try to challenge that exclusion. They said Tricia's running the show. She's planning this. We have to defer to her on this. And I said, if our board had some reservations in participating to begin with, and if we are not treated on an equal footing with all of the other organizations and invited to be at every planning meeting and have an equal voice at every planning meeting, that is forcing our hand to withdraw from being involved in this. And the response was basically, so be it. And so we withdrew. I don't have any other feedback on this other than I do know that the city attorney is looking into if there's any legal ramifications for what was done, since city funding was given to all the organizations that was then turned over to this forum, and it wasn't handled appropriately. Additionally, it was being held on city managed property. So there's a variety of city touch points here that are coming into play. I haven't spoken with anyone at the city attorney at any point during this process, but I know their eyes have been on this for quite some time, because part of what also sparked this was a message from the city attorney saying, you have to allow videotaping. And for whatever reason, Tricia thought I was to blame for that. So it is what it is. Happy to talk about it if people have additional questions, but I know there's been some ink spilled about it already. A couple people have suggested OPA do its own candidate forum. I don't have time for that, and I'm not going to suggest it, but if anyone else wants to put that out there and have the bandwidth to do so, happy to entertain that. But opening the floor to questions, comments. Judy.
Well, as you know, I voted against being part of it, but I just want to thank you for all the work that you put into making it a good forum. And just know that your work was very much appreciated by those of us in this room, at least.
Thank you.
I like to say, I appreciate it. I can email you and say so. You put a lot of work into those emails and just a lot of effort. So thank you very much.
Thank you. John and Jared.
Well, I think one of the things that came out of all this was our image as radiant through amongst more members of the community. Because we were asking for simple things like transparency, right? Equal sharing of who gets to ask questions and who may wait to be able to define those questions. And when some of us went to the forum yesterday, we saw bias, saw questions that we were kind of odd the way they got asked, right? Softball questions to the Friends of the Neighborhood organization. Little tougher ones for everyone else. So I think it actually, in the long run, is very, very good for us in this neighborhood. Even though you bore the brunt of, the spear or whatever that term is. So that's what I think.
I have to say, and I know I'm just putting in, but we had leaders of other, actually apologize for what was happening. I mean, I was at the meeting of the neighborhood association and I just went nuts. And Trisha thought I was being very nasty. The thing is, people actually came and apologized for her behavior at that meeting, how she was treating John's name over and over and over. It was just ridiculous. And they saw that. So.
It's good, and then.
Yeah, and mostly echoing Patty, I had multiple people reach out to me and say, I'm sorry how this turned out, it's not right. They just didn't feel empowered to be able to stop it.
So there's an ask from us, to you. I would say it's this: make sure Crusher continues to have the video of the session released. It's been over 24 hours and no one's seen it. I mean, most of us could put a video up on social media in 5 minutes. So I think there's something.
At least when I was involved, they were hiring a videographer and the videographer was going to publish it in its entirety. I don't know if or what changed in the last 2 weeks once we were excluded, but I can try to follow up, but I'm not going to follow up with Trisha on this. I have no yeah. Jerry, then Lucy, then Love.
First of all, again, I think it was commendable. We took a vote. I thought it was important and to be part of it, you know. And it's really a shame the way they did this, but I don't think it should end there. There has to be, I appreciated former Mayor Mike Feinstein's article in the Daily Press explaining why it wasn't good, what happened to OPA. If you haven't seen that, I urge you to read it. But I think we should, whoever, to do a follow-up thing about this and what it is, because it's just not fair. They kept the $500, and I guess that's a $500 learning lesson. But it's just not fair to be able to do that, and it's not fair to be able to have indirectly or directly OPA's reputation hurt without trying to explain what really happened, because it really wasn't cool what was done. Anyhow, that's just my thought.
And we did ask for our money back, has not been granted. We don't expect it to be granted, but if we want to talk about pushing more for it, we can. But we did ask for that. All right, Lucy?
Two questions, since I'm really unfamiliar with these people. One is such an unstable individual, allowed to be in that position, and also is she the only one in charge or whatever? Or
So no comment on why or how she is the president of the Northeast Neighbors Association, but she is. Basically the forum committee was basically the president of all 7 neighborhood organizations. And she was the initiator of the forum and sort of running the show.
She actually said she supports that. She wrote both.
And I don't think anyone else felt that they could pick up the ball and run with it if enough people pushed back on her, and then she said, well, I'm taking my toys and going home. That's my impression, at least from people responding. But there's probably more to it too. One of the responses I got was, we worked with Trisha for years, we know and trust her judgment. Some of them were far more empathetic, and one of the other presidents wrote, this is ridiculous, we're all on the same team here. But didn't then do anything. So Will, then John again.
Well, I was just gonna add,
Will was
gonna add a little color to that. Okay.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, the neighborhood association, there's 7 of them, even though we have 8 neighborhoods. What's before you right now in this room was nothing like any of the other neighborhood organizations. We try to be transparent and democratic. We encourage people to chase their passions, right? We don't really reject anybody for whatever view they happen to have. We rotate leadership, members rotate. So that makes us different. The other organizations are really political in nature, which is why they are not 501c. That is their whole purpose. And what ends up happening over the 25 years they've been around is a certain group of people, and it's personality based. You can judge what kind of personality Tricia Haynes by the comments you see. That attracts a very small group of people, and that's what happens. So to give you an example of how bad it is, our friends in Sunset Park are voting against the school bond. So are people in Northeast Neighbors and the Pico Neighborhood Association. So you'll see Northeast, or you'll see Sunset Park Neighborhood Association, whatever they call them, Friends of Sunset Park, opposed to the school bond. You know how many people were in the room to take the vote? 6. 2 abstained. 4 people made that decision for the entire neighborhood. So those are the differences between us and the other neighborhood organizations. So I just wanted to give that a little color. I didn't mean to make it sound so depressing.
No, but.
So, Will.
Sean, thanks again also for all your work, and Patty and David too for trying to do this. To me, it was just horrible yesterday that, that literature out for all these neighborhood associations, no OPA. To me, it's just a really bad look overall for them. Right? How can the city attorney, can we do anything with them, or as a citizen myself, just contacting the city attorney's office and saying this is not? I think she needs to get a little bit of a slap down, to be honest with you. I don't think it's appropriate that this can just happen. They can't go to our money back, and that's the end of it. It's just ridiculous.
Anyone is welcome to contact the city attorney's office and inquire about.
I'm going to do that.
The legality of how this transpired.
Sean, one hand.
One sec, there was another hand up.
Yeah, my name is Sean as well. I'm actually, I just like a few months ago, and like I'm new.
And the PI board is?
PIO, those are the PIO improvement organization. It ranges from Centinela all the way to the beach on Pico Boulevard. I'm the manager of a boba shop on Pico, and that's how they found me. We're actually having a tough time. We just have new leadership, and we're trying to find more board members. I came here because like I really want to help like up the community, and I came here to learn. It was like really nice to have David, to see David speak, and have you speak, Sean, and to see like how a board, like a really full board, is run. Our board is small, and we only meet on Zoom. But ideally, there's new leadership, there's a new liaison, and there's a lot of change. So I guess, well, I wanted to like, given what you said, I want to have to get some advice from you guys. I know this is off topic, but about like how we could improve our board, or how we could improve our organization, and like bring more personalities and bring more people in there.
I just say close Pico Boulevard and have part. You can't trust me.
So first and foremost, great name. Second, as I was quoting one of the other neighborhood presidents, like we're all on the same team. So,
Thank you.
Follow up with me after the meeting or however.
You're welcome.
Ian.
I was there yesterday, but I got there a little bit late. Was there anything said at the beginning of the meeting about this?
No.
Anything
No.
even to suggest that
No.
one of the neighborhood associations wasn't?
Nothing.
Okay, just
There- I would have been surprised if there was. I think the goal was to sweep this under the rug.
I thought anyone is able to join these meetings because of Brown versus,
Brown Act. You're welcome to be here. Anyone's welcome to be here.
I didn't know, I just received this email today, and I decided to come today.
We want if I can get 2,000 people to attend, that would be amazing. Please.
Just respond to Ian real quick. One of the things that happened, even though no one said doodle about this, is that a lot of people on the more progressive side of the city showed up. And it made for a much different mix in the auditorium than there has been. It was a really, really good thing for us. Well, I shouldn't turn us, but.
I don't think there's any action items we need to vote on or talk about, but if there is, let me know. now's the time to bring it up. I will follow up one more time on the refund. I will follow up with anyone that wants to know about how to take more action. And we'll see, if there's, where this goes from here. We are not withdrawing from the neighborhood council. We're still involved and still gonna attend those meetings. One person kicking us out of one thing can't and won't, have a larger impact. So
We're not gonna be there, so don't let them think that we're.
I'll make sure I or somebody else is.
Okay.
Remind me when it gets closer. Cool.
How was the event on Saturday?
Yeah, so let's transit, unless there's anything else, let's transition into better stuff. Saturday was awesome. And we'll get more into Main Street stuff, but like, kudos to everyone for showing up to help at the booth. We had, 4 to 6 people there pretty much all times. Thank you, everyone. It was a great day. It was I think it was a little less people than last year, but it was because it was, 273 degrees. And I had multiple friends say, we're worried about our pets burning their paws and we don't want to carry them in 273 degrees and be sweating. So I think that, but it was still a boatload of people. I haven't seen results yet. I know the Main Street Business Improvement Association is still collecting data. Some sort of non-official data, like I went to Ashland Hill lunch the next day, and they said that it was one of their 2 or 3 biggest days they've ever had. And I think overall businesses were probably pretty happy with it, as well as anyone who was there, I think had a great time. And they did a great job keeping it cool in the pet areas. And even on Sunday, the snow was still there. It's still there today? That's amazing. That's shocking. Just shocking it was snow. Anyone else have anything to say about Saturday?
We had Conservancy across the street. We had a great day. We had our largest, Patty was our docent for the day. We had one of our largest days we've had all for several years.
Good.
So it was great.
Awesome.
A lot of dogs.
Also had a beach cleanup on Sunday.
That was interesting because no one's gonna walk on the same. It was a real high turnout of people participating. Good job. More than the next one in October.
I wanted my kudos to Jeff for showing up and actually helping pick up.
Just on that, I think we did get a lot of questions on Saturday about the beach cleanup. I know a lot of people didn't show up, probably because of the weather, but we did get a lot of questions. So I think those are a really valuable way for us to engage with people that normally don't. It was younger people that were asking about it. We did get at least one person to sign up for a membership after talking about the beach cleanup.
Good.
But we should really try and capitalize. So we
I
have.
mean, I push it out on next door a few times on Facebook to everybody, but I can, you don't want so much beach cleanup was that hot.
Yeah.
And though we never saw Christian playing on the beach.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, and then wanted to run by the room for future events and beach cleanups, doing a dedicated newsletter blast for stuff like that to really try and highlight stuff, because I know we do get, tons of people skipping everything, but I think it's worthwhile better highlighting the events we're actually putting on, and I wanted to see if anybody had any reasons not to do that.
Well, I wanted to just say that we've been doing beach cleanups for quite a while. And there are always 3 that we do every year because that's what they ask for.
The adopt the beach.
We adopt the beach thing. So, we will, as long as I guess we can, we'll continue. So I think someone's gonna have to take over.
Let's get our marketing.
Yeah, we should have had flyers on the table. We both brainwarded on that. There's a lot going on. But for the next one, I'll do a dedicated email for it, reminding. John's had his hand up, and then Judy.
So, just a reminder, we have kiosks. Find a way to get data on our kiosks, right? The number keeps growing, right? There's one over by Cha Chicken, there's one down at the beach at Bay Street, right? People will see that.
Good idea.
So,
Yeah, and hit me up on that, Dave.
Yeah.
because Big Outdoor has promised some free advertising space to the local neighborhood organizations. So we should be taking them up on that. Okay. Judy, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to say that several people who came to the booth, on the Day of the Dog said how wonderful the newsletter is and how much they appreciated the newsletter coming to them and that they knew things. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Second.
We did get, over 200 people signing up for the newsletter at the event, and I think we got 3 or 4 memberships. We have to do paperwork, we got multiple memberships.
Wasn't that like, what percentage of that is the overall?
We're going into the event, we're 2,100, give or take. So another 10% bump. So.
You can go up, 5,000 before we have to take on.
I hope we have that problem. Cool. That's it from this past weekend. Communications, we talked a little bit about the newsletter. I don't have anything more to add on that. OPA Connects, we had, please, you talk about having Melissa there a couple weeks
OPA
ago.
Connects continues. It's a small group, but we like each other a lot. And I want to just encourage anyone to be a part of it. The link is always in the Monday newsletter, so you can just click on that link and you'll get to us. And Carolyn Terosis is coming on Wednesday to talk about the council meeting. Because Gleam is not going to be able to do the council report because she has to be at her own job.
Thank you. Thank you. That's also a good place in person to ask any questions you have about forum stuff. I got some very concern. She expressed concern multiple times to me about how that was going down. So feel free to ask her.
Would there be a way just to get an informal thank you letter to Gleam Davis for all the time she did come to give an update over the years at the OPA Connect? Something.
I think as she transitions out at the end of the year, we should definitely figure something out.
Yeah, we should.
Probably more than just a thank you letter.
Yeah.
Do you have something to say on behalf of her family? For those of you who don't know, John is Gleam's. Cool. Switching over to member engagement and events. We also had a happy hour or a mixer. Many of you were there. It was really well attended. I apologize that there wasn't more food. The restaurant dropped the ball somehow, or still trying to figure out exactly what happened on that. But it was a really nice night, and thanks for coming out. We'll try to do another one again soon. We have November 2nd is the Main Street Halloween event with the dog costume contest. It's not going to be a movie in the street because they're not doing a street closure. It's going to be in one of the parking lots, but still planning to do a big movie, blow up movie thing. That's going to be November 2nd. And then we also have to figure out when the holiday event is, when our holiday party is, as well as election stuff. The Main Street holiday event, tree lighting stuff is going to be December 8th. That's a Saturday. Historically, this event has.
It's a Sunday.
Sorry, it's a Sunday. Historically, it's been on a Saturday.
Yes.
And it's being moved to a Sunday. And we just have to figure out, do we want to do ours in connection with theirs like we've done most years? There is a slight conflict in that the Conservancy's holiday party is that afternoon from 2 to 5. We could piggyback off that and do it afterwards, or we could just pick a different night. Want to throw that out for discussion? Please.
Is there a possibility to do it in conjunction with this
Conservancy, and that kind of.
Actually.
If only there were people here that could speak to that.
Yes, it would be very difficult because they are going to be on the post office on Sixth Street.
Okay.
And what I did suggest to, John is that we have our party starting at 5, because if we do tree lighting and all of that, that's what you're going to be around.
Right.
So for a person who could go to a couple hours there and then come back over here because we're gonna have an election and all this other stuff, that would work for me. But I don't know about everyone else.
Well, it makes sense if you start the Conservancy Party and you stroll on down Main Street, works out perfectly.
Yeah.
5 o'clock after dark. I don't know if that has an effect.
Well, I mean, I can go to tree light after dark.
No, that I can. Would say like, I'll never.
Or even if we started at 4.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not directly crossing over, just
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah, that might be a better idea, 4 to 7 or something.
And I don't think we need to make a firm decision today if we're not comfortable doing so. It is still 3 months away, and it's, still clearly the middle of summer outside.
But we'll take that into consideration. Same as this, we're still planning ours. Maybe we can front load it from 2 to 4, 2:30 to 4.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else on events or calendar people want to bring up? Dave already mentioned the next beach cleanup.
I have conservancy announcements, but I don't want to.
Give us a couple more minutes on other. Anything else on OPA calendar we need to talk about? Cool. Jumping over into task forces and committee updates. Let's start with emergency preparedness. Abe.
Sure. Let's see. For those who don't know me, here on TV, I'm Dave Sassoon, and I'm one of the directors of OPA. My primary function is to act as a liaison between the Office of Emergency Management and the Ocean Park Association. One of the things I just want to talk about, 3 or 4 things. One is the Ocean Park Emergency Group, also called OPEG, which has kind of taken a hiatus because of COVID, will be reconvened. OPEG was started by Judy Abdo and Will Dorrington here a few years ago, and has not met
Since the pandemic.
recently because of COVID. We know that. So we will reconvene, and this will be Thursday, September 19th, 5:30 at, Thursday, September 19th, 5:30 p.m. at Lula's. And I don't have the address, but I'm sure Sean can put it on the newsletter.
I'll make sure it's on.
Everybody knows where it is. And it's kind of like a coincidence that we are reconvening right now because of COVID, but also the CERT, Community Emergency Response Team Training, which was also absent during COVID, has just started training again this year. As a matter of fact, there's a training going on, not right now, but it's a 3 consecutive Saturdays, which is happening, this Saturday, and I think last Saturday. So if you're interested, they're going to have 2 of them every year, just like in the past. It's really a great thing to do because you can participate in CERT on any level. You can take the training and not do anything at all, or you can take the training and search and rescue, or whatever you want to be. I don't do search and rescue myself. The other thing on top of that is another coincidence. Judy?
I just wanted to say I can't be there on that day because there's a locals night at the pier.
Oh.
So, I don't know if there's any flexibility around that date or.
Well, maybe we'll make it another, we can make it the following. Yeah, I'll let Sean know and, get the word out, okay? But it'll be a Thursday. In addition, just to raise the awareness, last month I was going, hey, there was an earthquake, because there was an earthquake right before our thing, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So preparedness always comes in hand after. So now, well, it's kind of maybe fizzled out from the earthquake. September is preparedness month. Okay, so if you go on the internet, if you Google Preparedness Month 2024, you'll get to a lot of assets that you can find that might help you prepare. Also, next month is the Great American Shakeout. Great American Shakeout, which is specifically about something that happens in our area, which is earthquakes. So, with that being on top of mind, might to, if you have provisions at home if you have provisions at home, your 7 days, 10 days, whatever you need for a disaster, maybe it's a good time to check the use by dates of all those things that you have, because they might be out of date. And I just happened, because the water was out in my building, I had to go look for the water and ran out in August. So I just used that and got the water. But it is a good time to just check your provisioning. And if you don't have it, you can go on numerous websites to find out, what you should do. City of Santa Monica Office of Emergency Management has a web page on the SantaMonica.gov website, and I will also send that link to Sean so he can put it on the newsletter, because I have it written down, but it's too difficult to fill out. So I can send Sean that link. One thing that people talk about in preparedness is, beyond having your provisions at home, is to have a go bag, bug out bags, that thing that you can just throw in your car and go out to the desert so that you can survive the nuclear annihilation in the city. There's a lesser known bag, it's not a bug out bag, but it's not taking the place of your go bag or provisioning at home. One small thing that I would like to present is, it's a get home bag. And it's something that you should have, in your car or at work. And it's for when like disaster strikes, you're driving in your car and then all of a sudden the road is not there anymore. So the first thing, when you're not trying to get out of town, probably the first thing is, how do I get home? To my family, to my dog, cat, loved ones. So it's something that you should have within your car, maybe at the office, and it doesn't have to be provisioned for 5 to 7 days. Top of the list is water. Maybe not the 5-gallon jug, but maybe a couple of sport bottles. Maybe a light jacket or those space blankets, just for a little warmth in case. And these get home bags will be different for everyone. I seldom get out of the city of Santa Monica. So mine's going to look different than somebody who lives in Santa Monica, works in downtown Los Angeles. But again, water is the key thing, pair of shoes, so that you might not be wearing shoes that you want to, travel through, walk through dirt and rubble and things like that. So it's good to have a good pair of shoes, walking shoes. So they don't have to be new, they could be the ones that you were gonna throw away or, you know, just put them in your car and you'll have it. Maybe some, protein bars or something like that. But those are probably the, you know, 3 or 4 things. And then of course, on an individual basis, you might have medications that you need. That, you know, not to last for a week, but you know, maybe overnight, just to get you home. Because that's what's on, I know it's on my mind, you know, when bad things happen. And even if you don't have to leave your car, it's a good thing to have, you know, because there could be disasters, civil unrest. My wife, who works at that time, worked at UCLA, and we lived in Marina Del Rey at that time. It took her 4 hours, 4.5 hours to get from UCLA back home. Okay? And because traffic was jammed, gridlock everywhere, and she was fortunate because she didn't have to leave her car and walk, although she could probably make it home faster. You know, she did have water, and she didn't need the shoes or anything else, but you know, water is probably the most important thing. So I will leave you with that. More information will be on the newsletter that Sean will send out, including the webpage for the Office of Emergency Management's preparedness website.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
It's worth the time. It's painless.
Yeah, it's a commitment of 3 Saturdays.
Yeah.
That you have to do complete the course, and yeah.
Yeah, I look at Patty and Dave different now. So, watching Patty was.
Or resources.
I'm sure.
Somewhat related question. Years ago, walkie-talkies were handed out to movie theaters for being able to cross-reference in case of emergency. Are those still in known people's hands? And
I have
do we test them with any regularity?
No.
I do have them at home in our bedroom. I don't know, they just sit there. At their pleasure.
I don't think they work anymore, but
Well,
I do have them.
yeah, they work, but it was from the fire department,
No,
from their union, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What to do.
John, you had your hand up.
I was sharing 94, the most important thing you can do is put sheets under your bed.
Yes.
You know, we were trying to build a network in our neighborhood where people knew who had pets. So people couldn't get home. We kind of have our neighbors' keys and we have ours too.
So hey, there's something to think about for that meeting is like, do we want to collect those walkie-talkies?
Yeah.
If
That was
they
on
are,
mine.
test them,
Yeah.
and maybe redistribute them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So,
Or look at the walkie-talkie thing.
If you have a water bed like I do, don't put your shoes under it.
or at least put them in a Ziploc bag if you do.
I may have the last water bed in Santa Monica. I don't know.
Anything, I know, so moving on, Lincoln Boulevard Task Force, I know we talked a little bit about Link, but there was, please expand on that, Dave.
He stole my thunder a little bit, but yes, starting next Monday for the next year, all the lighting and freeway ozone is going to be updated from the, it's going to be all new energy efficient lighting. Yeah. Starting next week.
Lincoln. Anything else from all things Lincoln to talk about, or no action items? Nope. Anything on housing, renter stuff? Nope. Cool, I don't think
There is, in case you're interested, there is a Derwan going in on the corner of Lincoln and Broadway, that funky looking broad building, round building. Derwan.
Wow.
Yeah, and the one on Wall Street. Yeah.
All right, I will go get a new credit card. Yeah, line of credit, I guess.
On Lincoln and Broadway, that's where it's on Broadway, by the car wash.
Right. Oh, where the hardware store was? Is that going into the old hardware store?
No, I think.
Lincoln and Broadway is where Lon's used to be.
Yeah, well, that's.
Right, you mean Lincoln in Colorado, I think. Lincoln in Colorado?
Yeah, right north of, yeah, I think it's Colorado.
Interesting.
You know, the little brown thing.
We used to be Fisher.
Yeah, it used to be the Fisher hardware store. Gotcha. Cool.
Oh, wow.
They will print money there. Any other task force updates or hand the floor? Yeah.
Just wanted to say, I'm not sure if it was last night or before, but we had a presentation on DEI issues by a couple of people. We had that 101-year-old businessman, and we had people from different associations. And I don't know if any of you have thought about or perhaps collaborating and looking at those two organizations, but if you would, it would be a good move.
Yeah. You know that I'm in touch with Tara Snell, from the Black Empowerment Association, and they could use some more, help or people thinking about ideas or ways to raise money.
I know they're having a big dinner. So
Yeah, and I think that's next month. Cool. Also have Caitlin here from the Conservancy who wanted to share a few words with us on all things Conservancy.
Thank you. I'm up here to show my little, I brought visuals with me. Well, first off, before I show you the visuals, I want to say how I'm completely honored to be here tonight. Listening to the way you all interact with each other and transparency. I'm just so happy that we're part of the Ocean Park community. So if you don't know, the Conservancy is in the little shotgun house right across the that way? That way. This way. Not that way, this way. In the little shotgun house right across the street. We're becoming more robust. We're open pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. That's where I work. And we now have 3 employees. We have a new volunteer coordinator in particular. So we're doing a big volunteer recruitment push. We've this summer, so starting in June, we've really been having open 2 weekends a month as opposed to one. And this next weekend, so that's my visual, the California Preservation Foundation has their Doors Open program. The Shotgun House was selected to be one of over 80 different historic sites throughout California. So descending upon Ocean Park next Saturday and Sunday, you'll see people with wristbands and they're visiting the Shotgun House along with, I think there's 25 different buildings open around Los Angeles over the weekend. And Shotgun House is going to be one. La Senora is another here in Santa Monica, and then there's several in Los Angeles and Long Beach. So it was really quite an honor that they selected us to be part of that. We're also just going to be open regularly, so feel free to come in. We're open longer hours, 11 to 1 on both Saturday and Sunday. So this is all part of our summer. So what was that? 11 to 3, sorry. So this is all part of our summer activation. Since June, we've been increasing our presence. So we've had garden tours that Hilda Weiss has been leading. We've been having the 2 weekends a month with docents open. And we've had the amazing Mark Gorman doing tours of Main Street once a month, which has been an incredible hit. Sold out for every tour. And so we're looking for volunteers. I heard a lot of amazing things tonight, even from David White. There's history is in the making here. We've got 3 buildings, the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium being restored. The Conservancy has been working with the new proposers. You will be hearing we were successfully nominated, the building, to the National Register of Historic Places.
So it's going to be on that?
It is.
Wow.
Should be announced.
It's exactly, it should be announced, and that will allow the proposers to get federal tax credits for their restoration. So that's an integral part of their plan for the restoration. So it was a great relationship. I also heard tonight from David, we have the Miramar, which has the historic Palisades wing. And of course, Frank Berry's project has the two historic landmarks on Ocean that are going to become the gateway into the new museum. So there's a lot going on in history. So not to mention then, please join the Conservancy. We're going to be in the, if you're not already members, but join to participate. We do have celebrations getting started and getting planned for the 150th birthday next summer. So please come join and be on one of those committees. And we are making plans for the Olympics. So hopefully our tours at the Annenberg Community Beach House will be increased. Our downtown walking tours, which I brought some brochures for that today. I brought pins from the Conservancy, so take some. And of course, the shotgun house. So thank you very much. I hope to pop in anytime, especially pop in this weekend. I think it's going to be very exciting with the Preservation Foundation. So thank you very much.
Just thinking aloud, brainstorming something. I don't know why that made me think of something, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Is there a cost to joining the Conservancy? Or minimum cost, or just?
We're $45 member, individual member. That's our current membership rate. So please join. And maybe Sean, you and I should talk. Maybe we'll figure out, join one, be part of it.
So that's what I was trying to brainstorm. Is there
Yeah.
some way to like bundle something together?
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, and it gives more perceived value to both sides. So
Exactly.
let's try that.
But it's $45. Yeah, and I think for couples, for 70,
So 60.
60.
Yeah, per couple. And then seniors and students are.
Do you have a corporate membership?
We do, but those are special, so we.
Well, thanks. We'll follow up on that.
Absolutely. And I'll be there both days. 11 to 1, if they want to come. I suppose we know what I'm saying.
Speaking of corporate membership, Carla had to drop off on behalf of the farmers market, but they joined OPA as a bronze corporate member this past week. So when you see her, you're at the market, say thank you for your OPA support.
Hey, Sean, on that, I started a conversation with Carla. This is the 30th anniversary of our market, coming up in January. So, we were starting to try and brainstorm some special things to do around that. Jeff, I think you had something to do with that 30 years ago, if I remember correctly. The farmers market. Thank you for waking up. But yeah, so I think 2 weeks ago we just started.
Cool. Keep us posted, please. And good to see you in town. Chris.
It's nice to be home.
Yeah. I think that's it for specific business. We do have to approve the minutes. Christina is unfortunately at home. You should be able to see her there. Her house has been ravaged by successive COVID cases. So she thought it's best she not be here, even though she's technically testing negative. So feel better, Christina, and all of your family. Any questions on the minutes she sent out? Motion, anyone? Jeff, I think Jeff beat you slightly. You get the second. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Any opposed? Great. Any other board business or open items? I want to just say the October meeting should be a lively one. We have both Police Chief Batista lined up, and then we are going to have a school bond discussion with a pro-con, Dr. Shelton, the excuse me, the superintendent, thank you, I wanted to say supervisor. Superintendent of the school is gonna be, speaking on the pro, and Nikki, I can't remember her last name right now.
Cole Hoff.
Is gonna be speaking on the other side of that. So it should be a pretty lively, meeting. Any, opening the floor, anybody else have anything? Patty, then Nick, then Judy.
I do too.
Then Christina. I said then Christina.
I just want to mention that we're going to start looking for people who might want to be joining the board. Our elections will happen in December, but we need to start getting people organized around October next month. So we should be discussing that a bit in our next meeting. And there are some of us who have to be voted in again. So just wanted to mention that that's coming up.
Thanks. Nick?
The Santa Monica History Museum is having the annual gala September 29th. It's gonna be a really cool event at the Santa Monica Bay Women's Club. Curated stories by the Pro Comedy Club, as well as tons of food and drink. So if you're interested, buy a ticket or reach out to me and I can let you know. And then also our peer locals nights start again this month. So we'll third Thursdays of every month. This month is a kickoff, but also we're doing reggae night. So there hasn't been a dedicated reggae night here for a while, but we'll start up this third Thursday this month.
Cool. Judy and Christina.
There's going to be an opera on the pier, and I will be there. I hope many of you will be there. It's September 21st, and it's free. Madam Butterfly. Now, what could be wrong with that? And free and Madam Butterfly, and you can come at 5. It doesn't start at 5, but you can come and eat, sit and be part of the audience. And then it starts whenever they start, and I can't remember, maybe 7? Does that sound right? So they have this giant screen, and what we're seeing is exactly what's happening at the actual opera house where the opera is happening. But we get to see it on this giant screen. So I hope you'll be there.
Christina.
I was just going to talk about the election, but Patty kind of beat me to it. But if you are a current board member, I will reach out to you and let you know if you are up for re-election. So you can think about if you want to continue on. If you are not a current board member and you are interested, please contact me and we can see if you're eligible to run, because we always need fresh perspectives. Thank you.
Mark, did you hear that? Just checking. Cool, thank you, Christina. Anything else? Awesome. It is 8:18 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I'm going to ignore Jeff. I'm going to see if Dave gets the first this time. Someone else gets the second. Chris gets the second. All in favor? Great meeting, everyone. Thank you.
Coming to the opera?